Today we're in Sedona, Arizona, reviewing this one-of-a-kind custom Sklar. This is the bike I found when I was searching for gold. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's a cool video where I was looking for something totally unique and I found it with this. Today we're gonna take it for a ride on our bumpy trails here. Sedona's a terrible place to film rigid content, but if we can make it survive here, it'll survive anywhere, right? So I picked the smoothest trail, and this is a single speed rigid. The only controls on the bars are brakes. There's no dropper. It's a very, very simple machine. We got 29 by 2.6 on here. This thing has room for 29 by 3.0, and that's probably how I would ride it, especially rigid, because I like all the tire cushion that I can get. I've swapped out my bars. The one-piece bar and stem combo, while cool and lightweight and unique, it felt a little bit weird when I was riding it, and I didn't want to rate this bike mostly based on what that cockpit felt like, so I threw on my well-known cockpit, a 30 mil rise, one-up components carbon bar with a 40 mil race face stem. Man, this has the coolest tubing profiles, but today we're here to find out what it rides like, not what it looks like. We already know it's beautiful. Oh, what a simple bike. There is something to be said for a simple bike. The only way you could go simpler is with a coaster brake, and I'm done with those. This thing's light and peppy. This bike is one of a kind. There's no other bike like it in the world. So this was built specifically, uniquely to one person, to their body dimensions, the geo they wanted, the fit they wanted. This thing feels surprisingly modern. Front end's a little low, but it's also not diving in its travel because there's no suspension fork. I think I'd want like a 50 mil riser bar on this if it were my personal bike. Man, not all custom bikes feel awesome. This one feels pretty dang good. I feel like these wheels are a little stiff, but that's what I always feel on Santa Cruz Reserve wheels. Pretty wild. Having no dropper, no gears, just a simple machine. Oh, trails are perfect today. 4,400 bucks is a lot of money for a bike with one gear and no suspension. Why would anybody pay that? Well, a lot of people buy hardtails because that's all that's in their budget. They can't afford a full suspension. But we have a growing number of viewers on this channel like me who just love a good hardtail. And even though we could afford a full suspension, we choose to get a nice hardtail. I'd argue that a nice hardtail feels nicer than a nice full suspension. There's so many nuances to a nice frame like this. It's just a piece of art. It's timeless. It was built by hand in the US by someone who's passionate about bikes. I think single speed's the right way to ride this bike. Unless you're gonna throw a fork on it and a dropper and all that, it'd still make a great trail bike in that configuration. But there's something special about rigid single speed with big tires. One of the most asked questions I get is, how can single speeding actually be fun? Hello. Thank you, have a good day. Hello. Thanks a lot, it's just me. Thank you, you too. And a lot of people say, oh, I tried just shifting into my 22 tooth and never shifted. It's not the same. And I don't know why. On paper, you'd think it would be. There's something so liberating about riding single speed. And I've had so many people tell me, I doubted it, and then I tried it, and I'm totally hooked. I have a buddy that just spent $6 grand on a full suspension, super nice build. And he says the favorite day I've had on a bike was when you loaned me your single speed Canfield Nimble 9. He said, I just felt like a kid again. And you get some of that vibe with this. You don't feel like a kid when you pay for it though. You're paying for the craftsmanship and the quality that Adam Sklar puts into his bikes. Shout out to all my viewers who are over the age of 50. There's a lot of you out there. I know a lot of you are fine not getting air and hucking off of things And this is your idea of a dream ride. Just pedaling through the windy, twisty single track. And the bike like this is perfect for it. There's nothing wrong with picking the easy trails. They're just as fun as the hard ones on the right bike. This fork feels really nice. I've got an Envy mountain fork personally for my rigid setup. And it's a stiff little fork. Hello. Thank you. You're great. Thanks. This bike is not crazy playful. It's more of a Sunday afternoon cruise bike. Just kind of hang out, enjoy your trails. It's a little bumpier than I like because it's rigid, but it works. It's exciting. It kind of has a long and low feel to it, like you want to tuck and get arrow. The front end's just a little bit low. It kind of feels XC-ish like that, but the head angle's not too steep. Oh. Whoop. I think I'd want to drop her personally. Hello. Oh, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. It's just me. I'd want to drop her because I kind of get bucked around on the rigid fork and I need a little bit more room to move around on the bike. But this is routed for a dropper. Hello. You're good. I'm impressed. It's a good feeling bike. Oh, it's a little brutal out here. I gotta slow it down to stay in control. So here's a question for you viewers. Would you rather be underbiked or overbiked? Because you can ride all this stuff on a rigid. You just have to go a little slower and be a little more careful. And it's a simple setup. No fork rebuilds. No bushings, no pivots. Takes more skill for sure to ride. I like being underbiked, but not quite this underbiked. Still, it's fun. I think if your whole riding group's on rigid single speeds like this, it makes it super fun. Oh boy, come on. Redo. I think I got this. All right, let's give that one more try. Nope. I need a dropper. And a suspension fork would sure help. So if you always clean everything on your trails, maybe you need to get a rigid single speeder, make it a little more challenging. If you always clean everything on your trails and only use half your travel, definitely try getting a bike with less travel. It'll blow your mind. Howdy. Nice rigid hardtail.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, I'd love this bike out on Honeybee in Tucson, or McDowell in Phoenix, or Browns Ranch. Be perfect out there. And it's really not bad up here. I just can't clean everything, and that's okay. But back to the question of why would someone spend so much for a bike with no suspension? Kind of like asking why people will pay so much for a 60s Cobra or a Shelby GT 500. A new car, the new Mustangs are faster, they're smoother, they have more power, they have air conditioning that works. You know, they're just better cars. Why on earth would you pay more for an old classic one? Because they're unique. This is hand built, it's got a story. There's no other bike like this. Conversation starter, and the quality and craftsmanship is just special on this. Look at this. Little 8-inch rocks everywhere, and it's tackling it. One thing that's cool about builders like Adam Sklar is, even though this has kind of a traditional retro look and vibe to it, It doesn't have a retro geo. It's got a slack head angle. It's got a long reach. It's just such a cool little bike. This bike feels like it's got a long chainstay. I don't have the geo measurements, but it does feel like a long wheelbase. Feels pretty planted. Harder to get that front end up, but if you're just kind of looking for a cruisy, chill bike to ride on the trails, that's probably what you want. I think this would really suit someone who's into single speed bike packing. Very comfortable riding. This is the softest bike I've ridden with these Santa Cruz wheels. They're not beating me up like normal. Can't imagine what a soft set of wheels would feel like with 29 by 3.0s. I think that'd be the ticket on this guy. Just a raw simplicity to it. And this bike doesn't feel like a cookie cutter mass-produced bike. It's lightweight. The frame doesn't feel overbuilt. I like that. I've got a few patrons who this would be the perfect bike for. All right, here's a big move. It's hard on any bike. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Nope, I don't have the gearing and I don't have the fork. And guess what, guys? It's okay to walk your bike every now and then. That is okay. Fun to have a challenge. You know, for having 2.6 DHFs front and rear, I thought this would be way draggier, but it's not. This bike doesn't feel sketchy. Really surprising. Usually rigid hardtails like this have a super steep head angle and feel sketchy. This bike doesn't. You get bouncing in this chunk and then it kind of gets away from you a little. Got to be careful. That's actually pretty fun though, having that added challenge of the rigid. Nice frame feel. It really does feel nice. Smooth little bike. What a joy. It just reminds you to slow down a little and stop and smell the roses and just enjoy a beautiful day on the bike. I'm not riding the most technical hardcore lines on here, and with this bike you don't have to enjoy the ride. There's something fun about pushing a bike pretty close to its limit. And on a rigid bike, on a trail like this, you can get closer to its limit than you can on a big enduro bike. I don't know, I like being underbiked and riding it to its limit more than being overbiked and never getting close to the limit. But everyone's different. I know a lot of people that love the feeling of monster trucking. And by monster trucking, I just mean getting a bike with tons of travel, like a 170 nuke-proof Giga, and just not even picking a line and just smashing everything and erasing the trail. And that's a lot of fun for a lot of people too. I will say I think it takes a better rider to ride a rigid bike on these things than a monster trucker, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be a competition. If you want a little more challenge, try something like this. It's just awesome grabbing a bike that's ready to go with no derailleur to fiddle with, no suspension, no pivots, no creaks. You just get on and ride, and it's just a connected feeling with the earth. If you like the connection that a regular hardtail gives you, and you've got smooth, flowy trails that don't have huge roots or rocks, man, give rigid single speed a try sometime. See if you can borrow buddies or something. It's a different experience. And it's pretty awesome, all the variety we can have on bikes these days. It's so interesting how different bikes flavor the ride that I'm going on. This bike has given me a more joyful approach, less serious, harkening back to simpler days. You don't think about the bike at all. There's no shifting, there's no dropper. You just pedal and ride and get lost. I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever ridden rigid single speed, like on a nice bike? What'd you think of it? Are you still on it, or did you sell it for something else? Do you miss it? I'd love to hear from you guys. Would you rather have a simple bike like this that all it has are brakes and pedals and a chain? Or are you more into wireless shifting and wireless suspension and all the fancy new electronic components? What tickles your fancy more? And I gotta say, the experience with the Pros Closet, granted they're a sponsor, so I'm not impartial, but it was a really smooth process. I shopped online. There was lots of detail and pictures on this bike. I didn't have to do a thing to the bike. I pulled it out of the box, cut the zip ties off, and put the wheel on, and everything was perfectly adjusted, perfectly tuned. There was one little scratch on the bars that they didn't photograph or mention. And apart from that, that's pretty impressive. What a great used bike buying experience. And let's say I decided, you know what, this frame doesn't fit me. I don't need a single speed, or it's too rigid, or I should have got a size bigger or smaller. I could return this. Can't do that on Pink Bike Buy and Sell. I got 30 days to decide if I want to keep this or not. Pretty awesome program. So if you're looking to strike gold and find a unique bike that's unlike anything else, head over to the Pros Closet and make sure you use my code to get free shipping. That helps support this channel. And if you're interested in this exact bike, today, the moment you see this video, it's available to purchase at theproscloset.com. So if you want this one-of-a-kind unique bike, jump on it because there's only one, and I think it's gonna go fast. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. There's a party in the mountains and you're invited.